let's look at the matches themselves. And this is where my love of the G1S stylings come in, because we're on the final night now. So it's the final matches for everyone in the block. And this is where, when it comes to the final of the G1, I'm the kind of guy that looks up who's got to win, who's got to do what, who can draw, who can lose, etc., etc. So I had to sit down, I sort of played the notes. Thankfully, one thing that makes it easy is that we've got block A, we've got block B. If you're at the top of the block, you go through to the grand final that will take place at PWA Back in Black label on Friday, 12th of February. Got it. Now, obviously, unlike in the G1, if there's a draw at the top of the table, it's not a case of who won their respective singles match. If you're at the top of the table and you draw, you all go through to the grand final. So we could see a grand final that's a triple threat, a four-way, five-way. So I'm just gonna quickly look into block A. So the only people who can win at this point are Unsocial Jordan, Sam Osborne, and Mick Moretti. Currently, they are in a three-way tie, 10 points apiece. And realistically, I suppose a draw could help them get points, but at the same time, realistically, all three men have got to be like, gagging for a win, basically, to have a chance of getting into that grand final. Sam Osborne, he's looking pretty. His opponent is Kingsley, who's obviously been, although the sentimental favourite, has been the worst performer with 0 points. So he's looking pretty strong at the moment. And then the other two finalists, or the other 2 point leaders, Osborne and Moretti, well, they're facing each other. So unless they draw, one of these men are definitely getting knocked out. So first, let's look at Sam Osborne and his opponent, Kingsley. Okay, don't mean to be rude to Kingsley, but surely this is a walk in the park for Sam Osborne. Thoughts?
Okay, so the biggest thing of Sam Osborne is, yes, he's got the points and he's got the confidence. He's got Don Marnell, but that overconfidence could lead to a fall. I mean, Don Marnell talks about, what's the boat that doesn't sink? Sam Osborne's premiership. I think Kingsley's going to look to kick some holes in that boat. And she's more driven than ever. This is her last chance. This is her last opportunity to make a statement, I think she's going to take full advantage of that opportunity. I think she's going to use every tool at her disposal. And speaking of tools, I hope Don Marnell doesn't get involved. But, we're probably going to have to factor that in as well.
You've got to go back to the shows.
Honestly, who wears sunnies indoors? I ask it every week. It's ridiculous. But I will say this, Don Marnell, I wasn't sold on him when he first came into PWA, but I think he's done incredible stuff with Sam Osborne. He shows the MMA method is working. And you would think someone like that would come in and grab a bunch of people and say, this is but he is focused in on Sam Osborne and really focused in on him going into this premiership. And that's why this is my head vote. My head tells me the way Osborne has gone in this tournament. I mean, he's only had draws and wins, if I do the math right. So he's one of the unstoppable athletes. And I think Don Marnell was the right choice. And I think he might get the two here and be unstoppable.
And then, of course, one-on-one. I made a mistake earlier, but one-on-one, it'll actually be Unsocial Jordan taking on Mick Moretti one-on-one. I think these two men were obviously favourites quite early on in the tournament. I remember Unsocial Jordan obviously had a really solid start. Mick Moretti, we were all expecting to perform at high standard. Both men could go through, but it looks like one's going to knock the other one out effectively out of the very top of that table. Rose, you're probably the best to answer this. Who's going to nudge the other out?
Well, like I said, I voted with my head with Osborne, but this is kind of where my heart lies. Moretti is a dear friend of mine, and I've made no secret about it in my commentary that he's a friend, and I wish him all the best success. But the fact that Wahlberg is kind of messing with him, and Chris Gale sits right next to me. I don't think you understand. I have to listen to that man talk my entire life, and all he does is talk about how great Wahlberg is. The divide grows, and my love also grows for Moretti. So my heart wants to see Moretti win here, but Unsocial Jordan has come back in an absolute flame and fire. He entered back into the company in such a confusing time, which I think he's loving as the leader of a group like SMS. He loves confusion and division and all that kind of stuff. You could very well see these two men having this match to decide this block, going to a draw and going straight back into a second fall. I mean, that could be amazing. So it could go either way, but my heart wants to say Moretti here.
All right, then. Just in the interest of time, Mick, I might skip asking you your opinion on that, but I would like to know, who does everyone think is going to win that respective Block A? I'm picking Unsocial Jordan. That's my pick to win Block A. Mick?
I'm going to go with Moretti. I think Moretti and Warburg have been headed for that collision course since this whole thing started. I think Moretti's motivated. Moretti all the way.
Rose, do you want to take a shot at who you think is going to win Block A?
I really want to say Moretti, but I think it's going. If I'm going to be an expert analysis, it has to be Osborne. I think it's
interesting. Right. So, okay. So obviously all three of us have picked different people. So it'd be interesting what happens. Now let's look over at Block B. The leader of the table is Lyrebird Lucci at 9 points. So if he wins, he automatically wins. That's it. No one can touch him effectively. A draw will also get him through, at least into a tie situation. But likely, you know, you've got to think that the other people, out of all the other competitors, there's a chance that at least one of them is going to win and sort of challenge Lyrebird Lucci. So the others who are in a shot of winning in second place ties at the moment, you've got the Arm Collector and PWA champion Jessica Troy. You've got Full Force Matt Rogers, who, as you mentioned earlier, Rose, has been an utter beast in this tournament. And of course, the nefarious, the 21st century success story, Matty Warburg himself. They're all in at 8 points. So, right, if you look at the matches, we'll go through each one. Matt Rogers, on paper, looks to have a relatively straightforward path. He'll be facing Jimmy Townsend. Mick, what are your thoughts on this match? Surely, you know, Matt Rogers is just going to plow through poor Mr. Townsend.
Honestly, I can't really see any other way to go unless Rogers slips on a banana peel and a bear trap and crocodile in a pond. I don't think he's going to fall to Townsend anytime soon.
Rose, would you concur with that expert analysis there from Mick?
I 100% agree with you, mate. Yeah, unless all those things happen. Look, Jimmy's had a great journey in this tournament and he's done some amazing things and I think he's learned a lot, but I think this is possibly his biggest lesson. I think he's going to end this tournament with a lesson that he'll probably feel for the next month. I think Rogers just has that fire in his eyes, and this is his chance to remind everyone who he is. And yeah, I think it's Rogers all the way.
The next match I got down, Lyrebird Lucci, who, as I mentioned, is the leader on the points table for his respective block. He'll be going up against Jessica Troy. That's got to be a lot of pressure on Troy to win this contest, because if she loses, there's going to be a lot of glum faces backstage, basically. Lyrebird Lucci, Jessica Troy. I mean, my pick has got to be Jessica Troy. I mean, obviously PWA champion, has just held on to that belt with like an absolute vice. She's very formidable. Rose, what are your thoughts on this match?
The interesting thing in this Block B and the discussion about this final round is dream killers. And this could be a dream killer match here because on paper, Lyrebird Lucci doesn't stand a chance against the form that Jessica Troy is in right now as the PWA champion. And if he's smart, he should run for the hills, which he's done in this tournament before, and it's gotten him 1 point. So I suspect he'll do the same here and try and run for the hills with all the limbs intact. And Troy's going to have to chase and ground and get points within only 10 minutes. He could be the reason Jessica Troy doesn't get to the final. I hope that's not the reason, but I smell Dream Killer all over Lucci here, and maybe a draw will ruin it for Jess.
Do you know what? I hadn't thought of that. Of course, Lyrebird Lucci could actually force a draw, and at least he'll put him at joint at the top of the table at least. Mick, what are your thoughts on this contest? Are you a Lyrebird Lucci man, or are you a Jessica Troy dude?
Definitely not a Lyrebird Lucci man, but I can't deny his success. And the interesting thing about Lucci is the way he's winning these matches, it's not by physicality, it's by smarts. And a lot of it's been by appealing to the emotion of his opponents and playing into that emotion and, you know, prevailing that way. I don't think he can do that to Jessica Troy. I think she's too driven. She's too motivated. She's with the nations. She knows how to get past those mind games. And I think she's going to be immune to Lucci's games and prevail in that final match.
Right. And the final match of the night, well, not necessarily on the night itself, but the final match that we'll be looking at, Matty Warburg takes on Jack Bonza, complete natural enemies. And if you told me that this was going to be on the final night at the beginning of the tournament, I would have suspected that this could have been the tournament decider. However, Jack Bonza is mathematically out of the tournament. So it's all on Matty Warburg to win and lose to see if he can win this block. Rose, you know these two men far better than I. Who do you think's going to win this one?
Boy, this is a really tough match to call. Warburg's on a tear. I mean, this is what Warburg does. Momentum. Yeah, baby. He gets rolling and he's on his way. There's not much that can stop this man right now. But if there is one person that can, it's Jack J. Bonza. And he is very cranky this tournament. He has been a very cranky man. And you don't like Bonza when he's cranky. No one's even talking to him around the arena. He's very, very unhappy. And I feel like this is another one of these dream killers, maybe. We've got to think about the fact that will Moretti be there? They've been getting in each other's heads, sitting ringside for their matches, all Premiership. Will Moretti be there to get in Matt's head? Will Matt be able to keep his head on his shoulders? Because Bonza might kick it off. He is angry. And this is going to be a fight. This is going to be, like you said, this could be the main event, the final of the Premiership, if they were in separate blocks.
Now, Mick, as obviously somebody who follows PWA, do you think we're going to see a passing of the proverbial torch, or is Jack Bonza going to lay down for Matty Wahlberg, or is he going to fight till his dying breath?
Oh, Jack Bonza will not lay down for a second. I do think Matty will win, but Bonza will not make it easy. Matty's got a very unique skill set. He's very good at submissions. His MMA background. He's trained with former UFC middleweight champion Robert Whittaker. So he's got a submission game that's helped him prevail throughout the tournament and throughout his career. But Bonza also has that submission skill as well. That catch-as-catch-can moveset, the ankle lock that, has helped him to victory as well. So it's going to be a war. It's going to be a technical battle, mix of styles. But yeah, it's going to be a fight. It's going to be a brilliant fight. And I can't wait to see it. It could be a main event anywhere in the country, I think.
So I think just to wrap up then, who do we all think is going to win Block B? Now, originally, when I thought there could be joint winners going through, that made it a lot easier for me. And I was going to probably say, yeah, Jessica Troy, Matt Rogers, but now I've got to choose between one or the other. And I'm going to go with my heart on this one. I reckon Jessica Troy is going to move through and be the victor of Block B. Rose, what do you feel?
Oh, I'm trying to.
I can see you trying to wind the cogs in the head there.
I'm trying to channel the spirits of PWA. Tell me. I'm going to go. The sands of time are telling me Rogers. I'm going to go Rogers.
Oh, it's very difficult to look past. I mean, it's been amazing just obviously watching him perform in this tournament. Mick, who are you going with? You've got your choices are Lyrebird Lucci, Jessica Troy, Full Force Matt Rogers, or Matty Wahlberg.
Got to go, I'd love to see Jessica Troy do it, but I think it's going to be Matty Wahlberg. I think he's too driven to face Moretti. I think that's just destiny. I think that's meant to happen, Moretti versus Wahlberg. And, he's going to go take his lumps. He's going to face the Red Commander, but, he's going to get it done in the end.
Isn't that interesting? Your final would be Wahlberg v. Moretti, and my final would be Osborne v. Rogers. Two completely different.
There we go. There's so many options. There's so many ways this
I was going to say,
and makes it so fun.
And my final would be Jessica Troy taking on Unsocial Jordan. So,
oh, brilliant!
So we should all put some money on this.
Can we just book that anyway? I'd love to see Jordan versus Jess. We should just book that. Anyway, make it an Iron Man match just so Jessica can rip his limbs off.
Rip his arm off again and again and again. Screw it. I'll invite him down to Melbourne. I'll find an empty building somewhere. We can do it one way or another. But, I was going to say, Rosie, thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to have to wrap this up now. We're obviously we're doing this interview on Zoom, and I can imagine the limited timer is ticking down on us. And I'm regularly told by my editor I need to try and reduce these videos because apparently I talk too much. But thank you so very much for joining us. It's been fantastic to talk PWA with you. And of course, Mick, thank you for joining us. It's been great to talk PWA with you as well. Thank you so much for your contributions to the snapmaresmedia.com website. But ladies and gentlemen, this show, you can watch it live on OVO Play Monday night. Rose, 7 o'clock, is that correct?
That's correct. I think it's a double episode. That's right.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And it'll be a double episode. And then whoever wins those respective blocks, they're going through to the grand final. And that grand final will take place at PWA Black Label, back in Black Label, 12th of February at the Factory Theatre. Or if you can't make it to the Factory Theatre, it's going to be live on Fight. La-di-da, PWA. Congratulations on your new streaming deal. That's amazing news.
Yeah, we're very excited. We have a new home and we want to launch it with a really, really big show with a crowd in attendance. So we're pumped.
Well, lovely. Well, thank you very much. I've been Lord Andy Coyne. This has been Andy Rose. This has been Mick Robson. And this has been Snapmares Media.